Mucha Hosh Omadid, and welcome to this Thursday stream of Las Plumas de Semur. My name is Plumas and I'm going to be your host for the evening. Chetori, Chehabor, how are you all? Hello, Nasoiros. How is everyone doing this evening, afternoon? I keep on teaching myself to use the word evening because I think I should somehow. I think it's something I must know how to use, yet it's such a cultural thing because there is not such word in Spanish. The evening doesn't exist for us. And doing some image research of something that I know about, but no one else can know about just yet. I'm so excited for that, Nosferos. Hello, Slothinator, how are you? And so yeah, back to the word evening. I don't think it's usable for anything. Yet it is a word, and because I keep on learning English every single day of my life, I should know how to use it. Salam Dorud Saharab Hubi. Are you guys okay? Oh, I'm so excited today. How is everyone doing? Are you having a good week? I am certainly having a blast today. It's been a very nice week so far. And Dorud Arash Hubi. I'm calling everyone by Tor because I think since I am the Khanuma Doctor, I can't call Tor to people. But if you want me to address you as Shoma, feel free to tell me so. I just never do. Doing well, says Slothinator. I really like that your name is Slothinator. Umberto makes me laugh. Doing well, we record an episode soon, but I thought I would get my Achaemenid batteries recharged. That is a very big compliment coming from you, because Bacha, if you don't know this already, I don't know how it escaped you because I am perpetually mentioning them in my streams. Slothinator64 here is actually Umberto from So You Think You Can Rule Persia, one of the greatest podcasts that, in fact, I have on my script today to mention. But let's just not get ahead of ourselves. How excited! Oh, that was so. Oh, thank you. Oh, Alba, muchas gracias. Qué monos sois. Mi Alba se col siempre en nuestros corazones. So hi there, que bum kuro. How are you? Hi, salam Miria. How are you? It's just, you know that I'm keeping switching from language to language because I can't speak both. So, muchas gracias por la raid, Alba, aunque el directillo de hoy es en inglés, pero te lo agradezco mucho. Eres un sol de persona maravillosa. Eres increíble. Hoy he terminado un poco más tarde y te voy a hacer raid. Yoo-hoo! And we are also happy about that. If you want to practice your Spanish and know a little bit further about art history as a general topic, but Spanish art history as a more central point, you should follow Alba. Just like, yeah, you should be. Gracias, Alba. Teacher, me se ha olvidado el workbook. Oh God, the workbook thing is something you English natives never had to experience. But back in the day, when we were learning English at school, we used to have these two books for English that always were paired up, like all the time, and they would be a workbook and a textbook. ¿Cómo se llamaba el otro que no era el workbook? El student book? I think it's like diles como si yo no supiera inglés. Student book, right? So we had the workbook and the student book. The student book would be the textbook, the one that contained all the lessons to be learned, and then the workbook as its own name is kind of self-explanatory. The workbook would be dedicated to practices and exercises, and you always wanted to have them both at class. It's very funny because you say student book as if you didn't know English. It's just sometimes I forget. I honestly I didn't know. Exactly. Thank you, Nosferos. Thank you for hoisting Alba's colors. And I'm going to open the window because it's bloody warm in here. Just give me a wee minute. I shall be back. This is bollocks because shouldn't be this warm at all, like at all. Yet here we are. And, then climate change doesn't exist. Oh, Varu, I'm really sorry about that. Perdona, Varu, pero es que las mayúsculas no me gustan. You didn't follow me yet. Oh, you didn't. It's okay. That is fine. Please do not feel obliged to follow me. Está bien, Varu. Hay gente a la que no le importan las mayúsculas. A mí me parece que es como si alguien me estuviera gritando y no me gusta. Pero yo sé que no me gritas. O si me gritas es de excitement. Okay. Back to the gardens. So, how excited I am to be starting the 5th season on Twitch. It is madness. 5th season. That is incredible. I have no idea how we made it this far. But if there is something, dishonor on your cow. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. But if there is something I know, is that I could not be here without you, Butcher. And I wanted to take a moment to thank you all for this time since April 2020, back when we started the very first season of Twitch. Thank you to all of you, to those who stayed for a little while and those who are still here. We have the best community of the whole internet, and these are facts. I hit myself. These are facts, factual information. Thank you. Today, we are delving into the Achaemenid history and mentality once more. I've said this before. I am the biggest liar in the world because I'm not an Achaemenid expert whatsoever. Like, not in the slightest. I've done my research and I know, but it is not, absolutely not my area of expertise yet. I find myself coming back to them every single time it's possible. Wherever the opportunity unfolds, there I am to grasp it with all my 10 fingers, even my 20 be counting my toes, because it's my go-to. It is my go-to topic. I love deeply the Achaemenid period, specifically the first one. I am completely biased and I'm not ashamed of admitting so. I am in love with the first Achaemenids, and this is why we are talking about this, because this is just a very big fat excuse for me to talk yet again about one of the most wonderful personalities that ever crossed, stepped and lived on the surface of Earth, which is Cyrus the Great. Kurushe Bozorg and none other. But yeah, I am a big fat liar. Hello, Isaku. It's good seeing you. If I disappear suddenly, it's because I'm working from home. Don't worry, that is okay. This is the mountain you can come to every single time you fancy. You can come and go as you please. I'm going to the living room to watch you on TV, so I'll be going in just a minute. Am I on TV? Oh my goodness. I'm on TV. Oh, how excited that is. For Cyrus. Of course, nosotros always for Cyrus. Cheers. Today, what are we having? I am having, I don't know, wait. Oh, we are having a very nice lemon. Oh, this is the same as last week. This is a lemon/orange citrus mix. Supermarket brand. I think it's Lidl. Yeah, it is Lidl. Like, I don't have the back with me. But, hear me out. When these are good, this one hits every single spot. If you are into this kind of citrusy, sour, acid, Miley Cyrus. You know what? I like Miley Cyrus. Not so much. I'm not that keen on her music. But she has the coolest surname ever because she carries the Cyrus name. And I'm frankly quite interested on how the name of Cyrus in Greek, because, his name was not Cyrus, it was Kurosh. But how that word traveled so far to end up being the surname of one of the people most representative of the musical pop culture in the 21st century. How did that happen? I think I should dedicate a whole stream to that, because frankly, I am quite curious. So I would say that we are delving into the Achaemenid mentality, but we're going to do so from a different perspective than we might be used to get to know the insights of a culture, especially regarding the ancient Near East. Yeah, it's Kurosh. Yes, it's Kuro. You have a lot in common with Kurosh. Yes, you would spell it like this. I'm going to type it for you. Kurosh. So yeah, you are practically cousins with one of the greatest men who have ever stepped on the surface of Earth. So you should be proud every single day of your life because you are a lovely person and we love you dearly. But you should be very proud that your name is Kurosh or Kuro. Oh yes, but you have the H. We have the H. We are going to go with what life offers. Exactly. If you are a reincarnation of Kurosh Bozorg, no wonder why I like you so much. Hello, Alba. You were very missed. I miss every second we are separated. That is that I'm not a stalker. Please don't. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if I can allow myself to be that kind of silly in Spanish. Sorry, in English, because in Spanish makes perfect sense. And there's a cultural level of goofiness and silliness around fake flirting with our friends. Yet I just feel like English language, and after all, the language is a vehicle for the culture. I don't think English language is prepared for that in this kind of tone. So I might sort of restrict myself, but kind of reshape myself, because I'm not going to restrict who am I or my personality, but kind of reshape it, like give it adaptation. Yes, like reshaping it. I like reshaping that word. Especially, what was I saying? Oh yeah, to get to know properly a culture, all the little pieces that conform the puzzle of its complexity, and especially regarding the ancient Near East, archaeology and art history are key, fundamental, pivotal, pivot. Sorry. But if you took the Achaemenid course with me, you know that all sources have their role and importance when recreating the historical discourse. Hence, we will be also introducing some of the very well-known Greek authors, Xenophon especially, and I want to send a special hello to Umberto and Sariel and the podcast So You Think You Can Rule Persia. Nosotros just shared the link, but you can find them also on Spotify. I know Umberto loves him a good Xenophon from time to time. And also, since there you have it, thank you so much, Nosotros. And if I am completely honest with you, I am a little bit overdoned, I would say, with learning history that is so much anthropocentric, meaning that the human is already at the center of the focus. And I'm a little bit done as someone that has studied, done an art history degree and then a master's. Humans are always the center of attention. Fortunately for us, there's way more than that to get to know the past, and we are discovering steadily, slowly but steadily, we're discovering that human history, it's cool, it's okay, but the other stuff surrounding, the other elements surrounding said humans brings us much more information that we can't think at first, at first thought. And this is why we are going to focus on plants, and more specifically to the space designated for those plants on purpose. And we are going to learn about the Achaemenids and their culture through none other than the gardens they constructed in their palatial complexes and buildings. And for that, fundamental, we need, say it together, context. For the very first time in this first season that we are starting, let's say it in English, context, because we need to learn where and when in order to understand why properly. So first, let's learn the where. And I have a map, of course, not this map. Is this map? No. Is this map? No. Where is my map? I had a map that is massive. There you go. If you took the course by the way, the Achaemenid course is entire open line. You can watch the videos. I mean, you cannot take the course and you cannot get a certificate. Yet the whole playlist is available on YouTube. There's no errors. It's fastest lining. It's just, you are way behind. Like, no, I am way behind you. I am just, I am delayed. I am coming with lag to you. So the course, the videos of the course is there. So if you watched it, if you took the course with me, or if you watched the video on your free time, you know this map already because I quite like it. But yeah, welcome to the Iranian plateau. Ta-da! And Egypt and Africa and Asia Minor. Welcome to the Achaemenid Empire at the peak of its expansion. This is like halfway through the 6th century before Common Era. Dariush the First's conquest. This is the largest the Achaemenid Empire got back in the day. And as you can see, the territory where the Achaemenids established their dominion is huge, to say the least. Thank you, Noseros, for Dara, always for Dara, my Dara, your Dara, everyone else's Dara. Yes. Who, if you're not used to me, who is Dara, this person I keep on referring to? I'm talking about Darius the First. Darius, I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's Darius, yeah, Darius. But I don't like Darius, so I call him by his real name, like a short version of his real name, which is Dara. That's the one. So as you can see, something this large and vast implies necessarily Dara is number one always. Yes, that is true. That is true. He is a bonbon. He's not a bonbon. He is a desgraciado infeliz. But we love him. We do love him. These territories imply necessarily an extreme variety of the landscape and climatic conditions. These are not the same everywhere. And this is important. Why? Because not everything that I would say on this stream would apply to every single territory. We have coastal cities that are humid and warmer. We have desertic landscapes like the north of Libya. We have the north of Iran, or the territories to the northeast of Iran, which is the regions of Khorasmia or Bactria or Sogdiana, which are covered in mountains and the dry and cold. We have Asia Minor. All these different ecosystems allow for different species to grow, and they required different elements to control the gardens, or at least to maintain the gardens in the palatial complexes and buildings. Therefore, we are going to focus. That's the reason why I chose to focus on only one part of the empire for the stream, because I thought it made more sense. And now I am going to show you this map with all the capitals, so you can locate yourself and properly locate yourself in a place. Although last time I realized I was very mad last week because crap, I just realized yet once again the people making the map were missing Ekbatana. Why does nobody remember that Ekbatana existed? Seriously, that what's with people making the maps? Ekbatana, in case you don't know, is the very first capital of the Achaemenid Empire and had great importance historically and for art history as well. But, I mean, we have to move on. But please, Bachar, always remember Ekbatana. Apparently, it was too much to ask, having another dot in a map with this. But Ekbatana, it would be so if you see where Susa is, if you trace a straight line towards the north, more or less would be like, midway to the Caspian Sea. Yeah, it is not in the province of Far, Fars, because that is where we're going to focus. We are going to focus on the south of the empire. Welcome to the beautiful province of Fars, named Parsa originally, where the main capitals of Pasargada and Persepolis were. Does this mean then that Pasargada and Persepolis were the only cities in the Achaemenid Empire that had monumental gardens? No, of course, no. Of course not. However, the gardens in these two cities, and we are going to nail it down even more with Pasargada, have been deeply studied and excavated, and they are the examples I will be using for the stream because I've learned about them a little bit better for this. So, first thing to know, Bacha, is that I'm gonna. What am I going to show you? I wanted a garden. I think, oh yeah, these are gorgeous. These is glaze ceramic, underglaze, I believe, ceramic wall. And these are palmettes. These were found in Susa, in Dara's palace in Sush. And they are gorgeous. I don't like the quality of the picture because the colors are very dull and like toned down. Live they are much more brilliant, and I don't think this is the one I saw because this one is in the Freya gallery, although there's multiple pieces. You know, if you ever visit Paris and you want, if maybe you are interested about Susa, they have a whole room dedicated to Susa and Susa's remains in the Louvre Museum, and they have a whole capital of the double bull capital. It is incredible and it's stunning and magnificent. They have pieces of this wall, and I've seen them live. I have been very lucky to be seeing them live, and the colors are much brighter when you don't see them in a picture, but this is what we have and we'll go with it. I was saying that goes without saying that Achaemenids did not invent the concept of gardening or a garden in general. In fact, we have another video about the gardens in Mesopotamia, which I invite you to watch. And these Achaemenid garden we're going to talk about, it draws back a lot to the Assyrian, especially to the Assyrian and Neo-Assyrian garden, which is fantastic, although they differ in important points, and those I will be very sure to highlight because it's interesting seeing how different cultures create this, they create and adapt concepts, but they designate different spaces to fulfill what we would believe to be the same goal, yet it's not at all the same goal. I am very passionate about a garden, am I not? And then I have a very, very black thumb, like I cannot keep a plant alive for myself. That's not true. I have a spider plant who's been with me since I moved into this house, which it was like 2 years ago. Because it's a spider plant, I named it Peter. And if you can make the connection, thank you. You are one of my favorite people on the planet. Thank you so much. Let's see another frieze palmettes. These is done in limestone, and this one belongs to Persepolis. So yeah, they did not, Achaemenids did not invent gardening. The evidence in cities such as Ecbatana, Pasargada, Susa or Persepolis exist, and also textual references from our dearly beloved Mediterranean authors. A great source on this matter is chapter 4 of the Economicus by Xenophon, and also we have the Anabasis by Arrian, or Arian. I swear I don't know how to pronounce that one. Umberto! How did you pronounce Ariano? Is it Arian? Arian, because English cannot make its mind about how to pronounce A's, can it? So Ariano, I don't know, Arian, I don't know. Please, Umberto, help me with this one. Help me in my quest to find perfection when talking in English. I have no idea, honestly. So I'm going to keep calling him Ariano. Xenophon died around 355 before Common. I do Ahrian. Okay, and I'm gonna go with that because you are the native here. So thank you for sponsoring this, for sponsoring today's Italian. We Arriano, right? In Spanish would be Arriano, yeah. So that is correct, though. What was the name of the guy, though? Anywho, I was saying that Xenophon died around 355 before Common Era, and Arriano died in the year 108 of Common Era. They are quite apart on time, and I wanted to read a fragment by Xenophon in which the Spartan general Lysander walks with Cyrus. But not Kurosh Bozorg, not Cyrus the Great, but Cyrus the Younger, the successor of Tissaphernes. Cyrus the Younger was a character. He was a thing. He was definitely he was something. He was something. But Cyrus the Younger, there's a moment in which he makes an alliance with the Spartan general Lysander, and then he invites him over to his gardens, and then Lysander is marveled at the beauty he beholds. And I'm going to read these. I didn't translate this. This is online on a website. Actually, I have the website here. This is the Perseus Digital Library. This is a very valuable source that I'm going to paste in here in case someone wants to consult it or to use it. There's multiple text digitalized here. I picked up this one because it was convenient, but there's a search bar and everything. It is magnifique. It is such a good source. I really like that these tools are online and available. So allow me to read. Every time you say Kurosh in my turn, I turn my head. Well, I mean, you are the reincarnation of the very best person on the planet, so you might as well. So this is what Lysander, which Xenophon writes about these visit. Nice that you are very nice, yeah. About the visit of Lysander to Cyrus's gardens. And I quote, "Further, the story goes that when Lysander came to him bringing the gifts from the allies, the Cyrus showed him various marks of friendliness, and Lysander himself related once to a stranger at Megara, adding besides that Cyrus personally showed him round his paradise at Sardis. Now Lysander admired the beauty of the trees in it, the accuracy of the spacing, the straightness of the rows, the regularity of the angles, and the multitude of the sweet scents that clung round them as they walked. And for wonder of these things, he cried, 'Cyrus, I really do admire all these lovely things, but I am far more impressed with your agent skills in measuring and arranging everything so exactly.' Cyrus was delighted to hear this and said, 'Well, Lysander, the whole of the measurement and arrangement is my own work, and I did some of the planting myself.' 'What, Cyrus?' exclaimed Lysander, looking at him and marking the beauty and perfume of his robes and the splendor of the necklaces and bangles and other jewels that he was wearing. 'Did you really plant part of this with your own hands?' 'Does that surprise you, Lysander?' asked Cyrus in reply. 'I swear by the sun god,' which, allow me to make a digression here, I have no idea who the sun god is. It might be Mithra, it might, but Mithra, I mean, this is just Xenophon mixing up things, but Greece, we have to give it to them. I swear by the sun god that I never yet sat down to dinner when in sound health without first working hard at some task of war or agriculture or exerting myself somehow.' Lysander himself declared, I should add, that on hearing this, he congratulated him in these words. 'I think you deserve your happiness, Cyrus, for you earn it by your virtues.'" End of quote. Of course, the source is not historical as we understand it nowadays. However, aside from being a nice way for you to get acquainted with the Greek author, the importance here is not in the shape, but in the content. Lovely people, I have a little work and mails to answer. See you next time. Bye, Iria. Thank you so much for popping by and thank you for your visit. Best of looks in your endeavors with your work. By the way, another digression here. I am watching the very last episode of My Hero Academia, and every time I use the word endeavor, it cracks me up. I think it's, I don't know. So the importance here, as I was saying, is not in the shape, but in the format. Xenophon is praising the whole Achaemenid dynasty and the royal culture via the words of Lysander, and the admiration of Greece for the gardens is just another way of expressing a sentiment towards a greater cultural entity. Is Greece respecting Iran? Does that make sense? Am I explaining myself? If not, feel free to interrupt me at any moment. Something else the sources tell us from the Greeks is that the Achaemenids had a keen interest in horticulture and agriculture. The administrative system of the empire quite encouraged the satrapies to improve their agronomy techniques, the irrigation systems, the arboriculture. Many funds of the court were destined to the cultivation of plants and reconditioning of spaces for the vegetal specimens, which is something to me as important. It's not just about being able to take care of the plants, but also being able to keep them alive in the proper conditions in a space that you are artificially creating because you chose to. The concept of a garden is just mind-blowing, at least for me. And these gardens, drawing back to the to the Assyrian garden and the meaning behind the Mesopotamian garden, it is quite impressive. And that is why I offer these to my patrons, because I really wanted to have the opportunity to talk about it. So there is a practical aspect of the garden, and we talked about it in the stream about Mesopotamian ones. There is always, must be. It is a must. Which is the practical sense of a garden? First of all, shade. It might sound stupid, but it is very important. Refrigeration. I cannot say this word properly. Refrigeration. If you know how trees work, which is a very stupid sentence to say on my behalf, but you know that plants help oxygenating the air, and specifically trees can bring the temperature down noticeably in the streets, and that's the reason why many European cities are encouraging their urbanism programs into planting more and more specimens, because again, climate change, and we are melting in the planet, so we might as well plant a couple of trees. Then we have the idea of relaxation. We have the idea of just going on a stroll in a nice place because we like it. And that is not something to brush off that quickly. It is fundamental. We are creating spaces in which humans can feel comfortable and safe, because we are talking about walled, encircled spaces. In these gardens, you were almost 100% sure that you were safe and no harm was gonna befall on you. Absolutely none. Also, we have any leisure, for festivities, for feasts, for parties, for musical numbers, just strolling around a garden. Who doesn't enjoy a nice walk in nature? And if you remember, some of these gardens became somehow of a petting zoo of exotic species. Also, of course, there is the practical aspect of showing off. It's because my garden is more lustrous and more exotic and bigger and much more magnificent than the neighbors. So that is also there. And then we have the garden, especially the garden connected to royalty. They have this incorporated political, philosophical, and scholars believe religious symbolism, because we have something very important here. In the Mesopotamian garden, the concept of a king creating the garden was an act of force, of strength, of prowess. However, the Iranian garden is not taming the earth. it is accommodating the earth for the people. The same as Ahura Mazda accommodated the land for humans and animals and plants to inhabit it. I don't know if I am making sense of myself, but the Mesopotamian garden and especially I'm going to talk about the case of the Assyrian king. The Assyrian king, what he did was taming the earth, kind of like making it obligate to him, like just surrounding the earth and behind his power. And like there's this defeat sense, this conquest sense is ever present in the Mesopotamian garden, because there's the king, the human king, conquering with the aid of the divinity, or sometimes by himself, conquering the barren and wild and fierce land. The wilderness has now been dominated, it's been tamed. However, the Achaemenid garden has this idea of the king as a gardener that takes care and creates a fertile space in a barren land with very difficult, or at least challenging climatic conditions. And these bringing order into chaos is very connected to what the original Zoroastrianism, the Mazdayasna, was about. Because even though the religion has evolved into a very monotheistic structure, the very early stages of Mazdayasna were that order versus chaos. And the king of the Achaemenids represents this order. It brings order to the territories and kind of duplicates these divine idea of a paradise, because of course the Iranian pantheon has its idea of a paradise. It's called the dwelling of the best purpose, and that is a translation from the Avesta. But yeah, definitely it's the statement of symbolizing not just authority but fertility and security from the Achaemenid king is, I'm not saying that is absent from the Mesopotamian garden, but definitely is more present and more important in the Achaemenid garden. And this is something very interesting, and we are going to start seeing. I'm going to show you this. This is the garden, or at least what remains of the garden, what can be saved of the garden at Pasargadae, because what made gardens stand out in the Achaemenid time was that for the very first time and forever, the garden was not just a part of a wider architectural project. It was the center of it. It was the focus of the whole architecture. The garden was there, and then buildings and spaces grew and adapted to it, surrounding it. They were an integral part of the Iranian architecture, and that tells a lot. And allow me to show you, there is this aerial picture of Pasargadae, not this one. There's this reconstruction. There you have it. So picture that garden, you can see it in the center of the picture, and this is reconstructed. This was made in 2012. I don't know if you are on Discord, but I left there the memory of the archaeological mission that went to Pasargadae in 2012 to investigate precisely its gardens. And you can see the garden in the center and how all the palaces and pavilions grew around it. But the garden's orientation and the garden structure was barely touched. And I think that is mind-blowing. How important that was. And yeah, I mean, the earliest garden of the Iranian plateau is located at Pasargadae, at least one that we can associate directly with the Achaemenids. And of course, we are talking about the residence of Kuroshebozorg the Great, Cyrus the Great, quote-unquote founder of the Achaemenid Empire. You know that I have my opinion on that, but definitely Cyrus is a relevant figure for the Achaemenid Empire. These palaces, because it's not just one, there's many, as you can see in the picture, they were placed surrounding this geometrical design garden. And this was set in a way that they created a park, a massive, a very large park with animals, plants, and water. The main source of everything, water, life itself in liquid shape, water. Water is fundamental. The irrigation system at Pasargade is mind-blowing, and they took really good care into creating this space. Take this orange effect in your face, definitely, yeah. And also, a fun fact, because I love them, these idea of earthly paradise, of creating, of recreating on Earth, the marvels that were waiting for us on the afterlife. They created a word that we use currently in our languages. There's a Western word. It is paridaisa. And then moved into Old Persian as paridaida, and into medium paridaisa. Do you see where I'm going with that? These paridaisa was transliterated to Greek to paradiesoi, and then it rendered to Latin to paradisus, and then we have paradise, we have paradis in Persian, we have paraíso in Spanish, paradiso in Italian. So the word originated in ancient Persia, and funnily enough, or interesting enough, the word paradise, the true meaning of paradiesa was a well, like a walled garden, a walled around garden. So there's always this idea of encirclement, of security, I think. I know, right? This idea of building up walls to protect something that is inside. This concept of security is something I cannot emphasize quite enough, because it's at the base of many concepts. You ought to feel safe in this space. You need to know that no harm whatsoever will happen to you. Nothing will happen to you. In here, you are safe and you are secured from everything. That is so important for humans. Feeling safe in a space is just incredibly fundamental. So allow me to explain a bit further architecture-wise how these work. So I'm going to show you a picture. And you can laugh at it, like, definitely. It's a picture to laugh at, unfortunately. And not this one. I am looking for it. Not that one. There you go. So this is Palace P. What remains of Palace P, which is nothing, very little. Preservation state rubble, hecho polvo, as one of my teachers would say back in university. Yeah, there's not much. I know there's not much. You might need to use your imagination, but walk with me, have this tour. So the way this was constructed, the Palace P, which also the Palace P is the one where this fake inscription is. There is a very hello Serapis, how are you? There is this very famous Achaemenid. I don't know, I'm quoting. It is Achaemenid. There's this very famous inscription that says, "I, Cyrus the king, an Achaemenid," but that was made at the time of Dara. Like, Cyrus never wrote that. Cyrus never called himself an Achaemenid. But the way this was built, and I think we might be able to see it a little bit better from the picture, from the reconstruction that I showed you. Why am I losing? Okay, me. Where is my? Where? I don't have many pictures for that. I shouldn't be losing them. This. Oh yeah, we can use this one. So this is an architectural map of Pasargade, and then you have Palace P, and you can see how the garden structure is sent up. So the way this was constructed, we have this massive rectangle, these geometrical space, and at the very back of it, in one of the sides, would be the palace. And this palace would have ¡Ahí va! ¿Qué me da? This palace would have had these portico, massive portico that would give the king the opportunity to contemplate the whole space from there. And then you would have the gardens. The space was geometrically designed to create a very long rectangle, and this rectangle was encircled by 2 canals. You can see the canals in there. There were 2 walls, but 2 canals are also derived in smaller channels that conducted the water and watered the soil in there. At the center of these, at the center of this structure, and there I'm going to really find the picture that I showed you before, because I need you to see the garden. So if you see the canal that is the axis of it that splits the garden into the very center, you can see do you see the portico with the columns like up in there? It's close to my head. It would be like up and then to the right. These little columns, these will be the massive, okay? Like the size of this is incredible, but these columns are giant in shape. I don't know why I'm saying little, but these columns, that would be the palace, the portico, and then you have the garden. And I don't know if you can see those squares that are located. Do you see where the glass drawing is? The tray with the glasses in the corner, left bottom corner of the screen. That was a pavilion. And then up in a straight line, if you go up, there's another one. That's pavilion A. And the one at the bottom is pavilion V. V, not V. B, as in B. Those porticos were created to encircle the space and give it more or less of it's not security, but it's like a reinforcement. We don't really know if these were intended for any military purposes, and it's very difficult to think about that. We just can't imagine. But at the very center of this garden, where the axis splits the garden in 2 pieces, there was supposedly, and according to sources, there was a throne. And a throne surrounded by water. And it is very interesting because here is where Plumas digresses enormously and significantly and tells you a bit about Avestan mythology. So according to the myth, before that, Butcha, my dear Butcha, do you recognize this tree? Do you know where is this? Or why is it important? I know you know. Do we know if these gardens were broken up in geographically themed areas, like an Indian square, Mesopotamian one? We don't know for certain, but given that they were adapting the space to different species, I reckon that would be entirely a possibility. Entirely. Because if you want to keep different trees alive, you don't put them together, one that needs tons of water and one that just can go about its day with a drop every 6 months. Very good. Yes, it's Gondor. It's the white tree from Gondor. Plumas Hanum, Dr. Plumas. Why do you put the white tree from Gondor in a stream about the Achaemenid garden? Well, because I'm going to talk about the motorbike. Seriously though, be my guest, just come roll all over me. And I don't live close to the ground, so I just can't imagine how loud that motorcycle actually is. So, I was saying, I'm going to talk about another white tree that is super important in Iranian mythology, but we don't have representations of that. We don't have any single depiction of the white tree of the Avesta, so I might as well use one of the white trees that is the most famous in the whole world, the white tree from Gondor. Okay. back to Avestan mythology. According to the Avesta, there was this primordial ocean of creation, and in the very center there stood an island, and in that island it grew a tree, a white tree, beautiful, like none other was seen in the existence. And this tree is called Haoma, or Homa. This tree contained seeds from all the plants in existence. All the plants in the world had their seeds on this tree, and with the help of a very sacred bird, sometimes Saena or Sen, or sometimes Kamrush, and one of my favorite, Yazata, Tishtriya, which is Sirius, the star. Canopus, I think, is in Italian, not Italian, in Latin, I think it's Canopus. And these elements will guarantee, I have to go for a recording now, but I'll catch up when we're done. Thank you, Umberto. Bye. See you later. Thank you for popping by. And with the help of these, can you hear it? The motorbike, I swear, it's the same one every single time. Vroom, vroom. You done? We will never know. So these elements, the tree with all the seeds, the bird, and the Yazata, they will be the guarantors that fertility would come upon the land, and they will allow growth for the next season and plants to keep on existing. Therefore, life to keep on existing. And having these in the Achaemenid garden reflected is extremely powerful. Extremely, like, you don't have an idea how strong this concept is of having the replica of fertility, the replica of the element that just guarantees life in your very garden. Now, there is a slight controversy, or at least different opinions, regarding Pasargadae and its garden, and then the divine concept of the world. Because even though the axis is quite well discernible, and we can see perfectly the structure of the garden, this picture is taken from the palace, as in like the perspective from the palace P. And there is also the very famous structure that I'm going to show you. Okay, so here to the right, you have a reconstruction of what the garden at Pasargadae would have looked like. And then you have a perfectly square one to the left. That one to the left is called the Chahar Bag. Chahar in Persian means four, and Bag is the word for garden. Now, there is this mention of Cyrus the Great to himself. He addresses himself as the king of the four corners of the world. And some scholars believe that this was done purposefully, and also was reflected on the architecture of his garden at Pasargadae, given that there was a secondary channel that crossed the garden, it's like a section, a middle section of the garden, and divided the space in four, creating then what would be the original Chaharbagh. The Chaharbagh structure kicked it really, really hard in India. There's many gardens located in the Chaharbagh. There's multiple monuments that have a Chaharbagh, like for example the Taj Mahal, the mausoleum, it's located in a Chaharbagh. The Mughals really like this one, and you can see multiple. There's also the Bagh Ferdowsi in Tehran, but that is not a Chaharbagh exactly, but there's one in I have the image on my mind. There's one in Shiraz, which I apparently visited at the tomb of Saadi, and I didn't realize, because I think it was Sohrab that told me last time, and I recognized the picture, and I was able to remember that I was there. I didn't remember the garden. So, but some people believe that these mention of the four quarters of the world is likely to symbolize four respected Zoroastrian elements. 4 of the 7, because there's 7 in the 7 elements in Zoroastrianism, and these 4 would be the sky, the earth, the water, and the plants. Sky is either crystal or metal, depending on the version, and I know that might be confusing, but I invite you to listen to the video I have on the Amesha Spenta, where I explain that a little better. But people are not sure. People are not sure of this because there's no real evidence of that was the purpose of it, because clearly the garden was divided in two. That is undeniable. That is for certain. The section in the middle, the axis, the longer axis that divided this space into four, it would be a little bit brave to advance that this was done on purpose. We don't have evidence for that. I just wanted to tell you for you to, jump to your own, just draw your own conclusions from it. But I don't see it as a possibility. There's some people that has been, quite adamant defending this theory, and I believe it entirely possible. However, to me personally, we don't have enough evidence to believe that Cyrus wanted this to be a thing. They wanted to be something in purpose made, but yeah, definitely. Well, as I was saying, there's wait, I never gave you the details. I have not here the details. It's so the water channels run for 1.3 kilometers, and there were basins, like water basins, every 14 meters, in intervals of 14 meters, that define the greater part of the joint rectangles in the front of the main facade. That would be just fountains to show off, but beautiful nonetheless. And these was the model for all the gardens in then Persepolis, Pasargadae. Not Pasargadae. I was thinking it was Susa, and you might have seen, or you might have noticed that I haven't mentioned any plants, because I don't know which plants were in the garden, and I wanted to go back to this one because some people investigating our history, there is this presence of some elements, of some vegetal elements, and one of them is this. We don't know what this is exactly. It's kind of a coniferal plant, but people believe, some scholars believe, that the way they are arranged, straight on a row, indicates a cultivation, indicates artificial plantation, and not something that grows in the wild. These could be, some people wanted to see in these lotus flowers, some other just reed. I don't know for certain, I'm not the expert on plants, that's Aina, but for sure some species we reckon they had in the Achaemenid garden were some palm trees, for certain. Cedar wood trees were very important. Then of course there's the cypress tree, which is a very famous tree and a sacred tree in Persepolis. And in the Iranian concept, actually, not only in Persepolis, which is the one, this is the image I showed you before to start the stream. This is one of the walls at the staircase of the Apadana in Persepolis, and definitely the cypress has an outstanding role in the Achaemenid sacred concept and the idea of this sacred plant, but for different reasons. And all the plants might have been water lilies, and since they had these lakes and these hoods, these ponds, for certain there would be any kind of algae or like water plants or aquatic plants in there. All the possibilities I mentioned, the cedar wood, maybe some ash wood, but we're not certain, and some beech wood, perhaps, palm trees I've said, and vines and grapevines. What else? Flowers, of course, any sort of flowers, lemon trees, lemon and orange trees imported from China. Because no, we don't have lemon trees in they don't grow around here. And yes, it's cedar from Lebanon, because that was like what the signature tree to have you have a garden is a cedar from Lebanon. These are delicate. The effort to transport them and to maintain them alive in such a different climate to Lebanon as Iran, the south of Iran is, that is an effort. That is significant, and I am fascinated by that. And so here you cannot write much, no hands up, but I finally made it, Salomina. She is the plant expert, and she is, of course, summoned at the moment I start talking about plants. I'm trying to list the kind of specimens that would inhabit the Achaemenid garden. So far we have beechwood, cedarwood, cypress, palm tree, date, palm tree, reed, lotus, water lily, lemon tree, orange tree, bushes, as in generally speaking, bushes. Sorry, I know. I don't know better. But unfortunately, we don't have a list or a mention, which possibly exists. I mean, given how much the Achaemenids or the Iranians in general enjoyed taking notes of anything, I'm pretty sure there was a tablet that now is lost containing the list of wildlife living in these gardens and also the plants or the vegetal specimens living in there. I am most certain that must have existed at some point. Maybe now we lost it. Maybe we'll recover it at some point. But we know for trade and we know for embassies and messages that they were varied. And Umberto was saying something very interesting, that maybe they were divided into corners, not necessarily organized by the origin of the plant, but the climatology they required, the needs they required, meaning the waters that required being close to water, or at least watered often through the week, would be in one side, whereas the plants that do not require so much water and can go on by themselves, it will be in a separate area. I don't know. I wish I had that information, but I can just I can see that happening is a possibility entirely. And I didn't want to finish the stream without showing you this, because I don't have another way of calling it. Butcher. This is the Zendane Soleiman, the prison of Soleiman, and we have no flipping idea of what its purpose is, was, or will be, because it is an unfinished project and it is literally a standing wall. And actually, it's very convenient because in there, at the bottom of the picture towards the left, you can see a couple of people sitting. That gives you an idea of perspective. Keep the people in mind, please, if you'd be so kind. Look at the people, look at them, do it, absorb the idea of it, correct? And I'm trying to find the picture of the garden. There it is. So these are the people, and now compare how big the garden was. Because these two shadows, these two spots somewhere in the middle, they are not people. I mean, there's a tree, a very lonely tree in there. And you can imagine how huge this place was. I cannot. I mean, it's just imagine seeing it alive back in the day with all these trees, these animals, the people, the sounds, the murmur of water, the sound of the breeze. It is quite an evocative image, if you ask me, but I think it's beautiful. But back to the Zendan. The Zendan Soleiman, it's a mystery, to say the very best, because again, we have no idea what its purpose was. So, it was intended to be a square structure. There's a very similar one at Nakhche Rostam, the Achaemenids necropolis. And there's some theories. Feel free to share your own, but there's some theories. First of all being, I mean, the theory that was the strongest a couple of decades ago was that these was intended to be an Ateshgah. An Ateshgah is a temple of fire. Literally, Atesh means fire and Gah means place, the place for fire. However, there is no evidence of fire or smoke in any of the stones. Not here, not in Nakhche Rostam. So definitely it was not fire. And believe me, fire leaves a mark. Trust me with that. It leaves a mark even on the stone. nothing. So then people started suggesting that these perhaps was intended to keep books, to maintain books isolated from deterioration, a storing library, something like that. But then no evidence supported the theory. And finally, what's been looking like is that these places was just for some kind of ritual or ceremony, or some kind of religious connected to the king experience, because we don't know much about this. Its purpose might be entirely unknown to us, but definitely had something to do with the kings, because if not, you wouldn't place it. First, this one is attached to a palace, and then the one in Naxxarostam is literally in front of the Achaemenid tomb. So it had its importance for sure. But this is the magic of history, and this is the magic of knowing our limits as human beings. There are some things we just won't know ever, and that's okay. What do you think it is? What would be your crazy theories? Because guys, we could throw theories into the wild void. I don't know. Some say it has been Cambodia, Tom. This one is not finished. I think you're talking about the one in Naxxarostam. It was also said to be the tomb of Saratosht. It was not. It's not a tomb. It's not a burial place. This one is called Sendane Soleiman, because, the prison of Soleiman, because the jinn were, according to Muslim creed, the jinn were entrapped by Soleiman using a very powerful ring and the seal of Soleiman. But this looks like a prison, so possibly the Arabs thought this was a prison. So Soleiman would have kept, the div and the jinn incarcerated here, which is very fun, because that is my favorite theory. I want to go with that one. I want to believe that these actually, in fact, it is a prison for the jinn and the div. That's it. That's basically that's what you're gonna learn from me today. But I hope, Bachar, that these I just checked, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but there is a paleobotany study of a Persian royal palace garden in the Levant. No, I haven't mentioned it, because I think that would go for like interesting. Send that to me, woman. I go all in with my giant puppet theater, 3 meter tall. Yeah, I mean, it could be a puppet theater. I know you rather send it to me over WhatsApp better. I think you cannot send links in here, but thank you, Azizam. So I hope that you enjoyed the stroll through the Achaemenid garden. Persians introduced interesting trees. They did, in fact, yeah. Soleiman prison is a later number, I think. Definitely is after Islam, because before Islam there was not this notion of Soleiman imprisoning the jinn. So you're most correct, Sohrab. It is indeed a post-Muslim name. So it would be like what, around 8th century, more or less. The name, I mean, no, not the place. The place is around the 6th century before Common Era. So Bachar, this is as far as we are going to go. Thank you so much for accompanying me through the stroll, and I really hope that these invited you to contemplate history not only through the lens of a written chronicle about history of the people, history of the kings, but also the landscape, the plants, the life surrounding these empires and these cultural hopes is what shapes them. And of course, I haven't mentioned this before in the stream. Pity, that's on me. The self-defining narrative of these cultural entities is shaped not only by the people living in them, but also by the environment that surrounds them, of the landscape they have to coexist with, and the way they interact with it. Also, these plants and these territories, I'm sorry for the pun, it's not intended, but they plant deep roots in the mythological religious thought. And this sentiment is ever present in architecture, although we cannot see it ourselves, but it's fundamental for us today and for them back in the moment, how do you see the world and how do you interact with the world? It shapes who you are and how you project yourself and your culture towards things. So yeah, I just wanted to, for history and also human-centered, absolutely. Boom. Oh, I hope they publish this Achaemenid tablet study so we can all read them and learn about what they say, because I'm pretty sure it will be super, super interesting. So Bacha, thank you so much for accompanying me this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed the live stream. I've certainly had a blast because I was so excited about this topic. I really like it. I love the gardens and I love bringing to you things that sound a little bit different or things that you might not be considering learning about on the first date. Thank you سپاس خواهش میکنم مشکلی نیست. Thank you so much. If you want to know how you can choose a topic for the next one, I mean, you can support the project on Patreon. My patrons are the ones who are choosing what you were seeing here. So yeah, consider checking that. Thank you so much, Alba. Consider giving that Patreon a very nice look. You can also, I think I don't have that on. I think it's a links one or social one. I don't know. You know better than me because you're my busy and I'm a bloody disaster. Yeah, the ASMR moment. There you have it. I mean, that was good timing. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to my patrons, and thank you to all of you, Bacha, and thank you to the Achaemenids and Cyrus for maintaining this very cool spirit in the world. I will see you if you want to come with me to another reading aloud session of the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings. It's gonna be a ride. But if you want to come, it will be on Monday at 6 p.m. in English. Don't worry, I will advertise it soon enough. You can come to Discord, you can come to Telegram, you can come to wherever you'd like. But definitely, I shall be here also next week. I don't know what we have for next week. I might need to check the calendar, but I will be here somehow. But thank you so much again for accompanying me. And in the meantime, please do not forget to create, to explore, and to have tons of fun. Until we see each other next time, I now bid you Khudafiz!